First of top they concede competing interpretations. That means that their interpretation allows for pigs just as much, i.e. for states, because even in the realm of their interpretation of partial overrules, they would still allow for pigs to occur. That means that this argument is wholly irrelevant because at least of both the interpretations. This argument was conceded, which means you cannot vote here. In addition, this is a new application to the counterplan. I know it may seem obvious that our counterplan is fixed, but this argument was not applied to our counterplan to the 1AR. This is too late. This is bad for debate because it is too late for this argument to go indefinite. Additionally, this is an unpredictable application that they decided to make because we viewed it as the only reason why to reject our interpretation. Then that's how we answered it on topicality. It shows that this new application would destroy ground. You should not allow it to happen. Additionally, they concede a few arguments on the theory debate, which would get me out of this argument. On your criticism, first, they concede negative flexibility. That it is necessary for the negative to have flexibility in order for us to generate enough ground in order for us to test the affirmative inside and outside the world fiat. This world fiat, which includes the actor of their actual plan. With that concession, that means that you can't vote here. Additionally, they concede that you would err negative on theory because the F has built-in advantages of built-in first size and infinite prime time and a higher loss ratio. With these arguments conceded, there's no way you can vote on this argument. Now, India. First they say bipartisanship. Well, first I want you to explain our fate evidence at the top. They can see that nuclear war in India and Pakistan is the biggest and most probable scenario for war. This is the evidence that indicates that a war will occur between those two nations, and it is likely. We need the Indian deal in order to prevent that war from occurring. They are conceded in extinction impact, and they are conceding that we are outweighing time frame, probability, and magnitude. This is all the analysis that was in the 1AR. I don't have to repeat any of this because the 1AR drops the bomb on it. That means that with an extinction impact, there's no way that your plan could lead to the actualization of ethics because we would all be dead. That means the only ethical act would be to vote for the counter plan because it's able to avoid the extinction of millions of people. Now, specifically, the first argument that they make is that bipartisanship is all a farce. But first of all, this argument is not specific to anything. It's just an attempt to take out uniqueness based off the status quo, not the nuclear India deal. We have issue-specific needs and uniqueness, which is why we prefer evidence for searching centers our in time evidence as well as our Indonesian news service evidence indicates that the House is bipartisan and the committee as well. So this shows that it will pass, and it's only an issue of time that would prevent the passage from occurring. Even if they win that bipartisanship is a farce, that doesn't mean that their policy still wouldn't lead to a debate, which is what our link evidence indicates. Our Harrison evidence as well as our McCain evidence both indicate that court rulings will lead to conversations in Congress. That distraction is enough to prevent the Indian nuclear deal from passing. It's not even an issue of bipartisanship or politics, so this argument is not responsive. Additionally, next argument they say that there's no evidence. Oh, they say that they talk about judicial appointments, but this argument is not responsive to our scenario. Additionally, next argument they say that there's no evidence that the war is coming. But first of all, this is our fate evidence indicates that the most likely area for a war to occur would be the in India and Pakistan, which means that we need India's strategic support in order to us to prevent a conflict from occurring there. And in addition, the India deal is what would spark the conflict to begin with. That shows that there isn't an inevitable conflict that's occurring in the status quo with the quickest time frame. This has to happen before December 5th because that's when the lame duck session would end. They can see all unique evidence indicates that there's a delay past the lame duck session, that the bill itself would pass, which would fail, which means it would set up all of our impacts. Now, I actually want you to go to the counter plan. First, there's no extension of case on the counter plan. There is nothing for you to weigh. That means that even if there's a deficit to the counter plan, you don't know what that's a deficit of. Our disadvantage is 100% extinction scenario. That means even if we don't win anti-solvency, this argument's fully relevant. First, they request their Hirschlock evidence, but this argument is not responsive because, first of all, the referendum evidence is not responsive. This is nowhere near saying that the policy can be overruled. Our evidence indicates that the states would be durable. First, it's our Gardner evidence that indicates that the state constitution is more supreme than the Supreme Court judiciary, as well as our Tucker evidence, which indicates that it's effective with protecting abortion rights, which is more specific than your evidence talks about. Additionally, durable fiat would be able to solve for the rest of their arguments because we assume that the actual overruling would be enforced. You can see that this is necessary in order for affirmatives to have solvency as well, which proves that the conflict would have access to solvency.
They say state courts are elected, but that means that we could reciprocate and say that Roberts would just overrule.
Yeah, and they say the state courts are elected, but then we just reciprocate and say that Roberts would overrule. In addition, they also concede a critical argument here that the state courts were the ones that were responsible for the restrictions to begin with in the first place, and they argue on the criticism as well as all over the floor that methodology is the most important thing. That means that the economy has a sound methodology, regardless if it solves for the case or not, because it is removing a restriction that it placed in itself. Whereas they are a Supreme Court action, which would not.
They say all we have to do is to solve the case is prove that we're ethical.
Right, all we
States
see
are
that we
more
have to do is
ethical.
prove that we're ethical via methodology.
So
If
states
they
are more
concede that these are state restrictions and that the most ethical act would be to reverse those restrictions, that means that we are the only ones that have an ethical act via our common plan, whereas they do not have access to this. They don't have any evidence that indicates the Supreme Court must be being held responsible for restrictions that the state has placed would be ethical, but instead they say that the same actor must hold itself as ethical, which means that all of their case arguments are only solvency for our common plan and not solvency for their affirmative. Additionally, with in addition, even if they prove that our methodology is unethical, they are still losing that the result of their plan is unethical, and that if you were to evaluate this on ethics, that our ethics or our violation of ethics is a lot less than their violation of ethics, because their violation of ethics would lead to extinction, whereas we would be able to prevent it.
Say the referendum's argument doesn't talk about all states.
Right, and the referendum doesn't talk about all states anyways, which means that, just Florida, which means we would still be able to solve. The disadvantage outweighs, and there's no solvency method that they would get.
334.